everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm not offering advice today specifically to do with helping your fibromyalgia, but I'm giving you advice today on how I feel we need to talk to our friends and family and what our friends and family can do for us to help support us. Now, all opinions are my own. You might disagree with some of them. You might not be there yet, and that's okay. It has taken me a long time to get here myself. My first few years diagnosed were spent in, I was grieving a lot. I was probably very difficult to get along with. I'm not saying that I'm not still difficult to get along with, but it was way worse. I have a feeling that this is something that we'll probably be talking about a lot. I would welcome your opinions. I welcome respectful conversation in the comments. If you have something to add or something that you disagree with, drop it below and we'll have a chat. I have a lot of people come to me and ask me how they can support their friends or loved ones with fibromyalgia. And it's a tricky thing because everyone is different, everyone needs different care. But I think a lot of the things that I'm about to say are applicable across the board. So the number one thing is trust us when we say that we're in pain. Believe us. That is probably the number one thing that you can do. We still to this day encounter doctors and other health professionals who don't believe that the pain that we're talking about is real. So the number one thing, the number one way you can start to support us is by trusting us. I had an ex once say to me, what is the best way that I can support you? And that was a really beautiful question for me. So if you have someone in your life that does have fibromyalgia, that is one of the best questions you can ask them. How can I best support you? And they'll be able to tell you if they're at that place. And that might change over the years. But if you're able to ask that question and they're able to give you an answer back, I highly suggest doing that. Anytime you want to bring up fibromyalgia with us, be gentle. It's a difficult thing to adjust to. It's a difficult thing to learn to live with. Keep in mind that we've just been given a sentence of, hey, you're going to be in unexplainable chronic pain for the rest of your life. You may find something that helps you deal with the pain, you may not. Oh, and there's all of this fun other stuff that's going to come along with it. One fun thing that we never talk about is, tooth pain. I've been dealing with insane tooth pain all week. I have a massive migraine today as a result of it, and it's something that dentists can't fix. I have spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on x-rays being like, no, I have this insane tooth pain here. And dentists are always like, there's nothing there, like there's no problem. I'm like, oh. But there is, I'm in so much pain. And it's just, there's all of these little side things that you don't really think about. Yeah, my main pain is in my legs, but there's all of these other things that kind of go along with a fibromyalgia diagnosis, and it can be hard. We're always discovering new issues, so just be gentle with us. And I think the biggest thing is to give us grace. There are going to be times when we're going to have to cancel plans or change plans. I know for me, one of the hardest things is not the pain, but it's the mental strife of feeling like a burden all the time. I actually stopped dating for years because I didn't want to put the burden of fibromyalgia onto someone else. I didn't think that that was fair. That's why I say we need you to be gentle. We need you to give us grace. I'm willing to bet that 99% of us already feel like we're just a giant burden and often a waste of space. And it is really, really difficult. We haven't addressed the mind issues, the mental strife that comes along with fibromyalgia yet on my channel, but it's a big one. Fibromyalgia often comes along with a depression diagnosis, and whether or not you're feeling it right off the bat, it's something that you'll probably sink into at some point, and it can be very, very challenging. Just to work through that. It is impossible for us to fully explain what we go through and what we feel. It's impossible for you to completely understand what we deal with. And in the same way, it's impossible for any other person with fibromyalgia to completely understand what I'm going through and vice versa, because symptoms are different. Things look different for different people. So it's a very frustrating disorder. And because of that, we'll try to explain what we're feeling, but know that you'll probably never fully grasp it. That's why I say grace, compassion, empathy are probably the biggest things. As your loved one gets further along in their journey, I know for me, on days when I have to use my cane, my friends don't bring it up. And that for me is one of the biggest gifts that I could receive at this point. Now, I'm a long way in, but at this point, I don't want sympathy. I don't want you to look at me and go, oh, were you in pain today? Like, I'm in pain every day. Every single day I am in pain. I do not know or understand what it feels like not to be in pain. That's not something that I can even comprehend at this point. I have no memory of what that feels like. So yeah, I'm in pain today, but I'm in pain every single day. Every single moment that I'm awake, I am in pain. I just want to be treated like the cane doesn't exist. I might be alone in that, but that's for me, that's an important thing. And my closest friends, they kind of ignore the cane. If I'm paying for something or whatnot, they'll hold on to it for me. They just grab it, or they'll, make sure that they're opening doors or carrying packages for me, or, being as helpful as possible. But they don't ask if they can do those things. They just kind of do them. And that's how they support me. And that can be a hard thing too, because we want to feel independent. So for me, if someone asks if they can help me, I'll generally say no, even though I really need the help. But if they just do it, that's something that I actually really appreciate. I could be alone in that one, but it's tricky. It's so hard to navigate, and this is why I want to kind of open up a conversation. Okay. So those are kind of the responsibilities on your side: grace, compassion, empathy, a gentleness, and just a willingness to be there for us no matter what. That's what we need from you. But we also have a responsibility to you. Now again, this might not be something that you can do right off the bat. It might take you a couple of years to get to this point, but we need to not always complain. It's not fun listening to someone constantly complain about their pain. So can we just put a stop to that? Our friends and family don't need to hear constantly that we're in pain, or hear every grunt or groan. Things like journals or vlogs or stuff exist, and you can get it out there, you can write it out, and I know that that's something that's really helped me. This was a big one for me, and it took me a couple of years to get to this point, but it's impossible not to compare. If someone says that they're tired, they're allowed to be tired. You don't have to jump into a litany about how they don't understand what tired is because they don't have to take a nap after they take a shower. They don't understand what tired is because they don't feel it to the very core of their being. You don't have to do that. Other people are allowed to feel what they feel, just like you're allowed to feel what you feel. So I think it's really important that the person with fibromyalgia, myself, is gentle with the people that are in their lives as well. The people that are in your lives have their own stuff as well. You're not the only one. We're not the only one, I should say, with issues. Other people have issues too. And that's something that often gets forgotten when we get a new diagnosis. Other people have stuff as well, and they're allowed to feel what they feel. They're allowed to feel tired. You don't have to compare. They're allowed to feel pain. I cannot tell you how many times someone has said to me, oh, well, I can't complain about this pain because, it's nothing compared to what you go through. And I have to just say to them, listen, you're allowed to feel your pain. You're entitled to your pain. Like, my pain doesn't negate your pain. This was something that took me a long time to get to, but I encourage you to get there fast. It takes a lot of mental work, it takes a lot of brain work, but you can get there, okay? It is not a comparison. That is not fair to the person in your life, and that is not fair to you. So stop it. Stop it. I think it's important to be open and honest with people. It's important to trust them. Just how they need to trust what we're saying is true, we need to trust them to take on that knowledge and that information and to love us in spite of it. And that's a really, really hard thing for me. Anytime I'm at the beginning of a relationship, one of the hardest things for me is to tell someone that I have fibromyalgia. Again, because of the burden thing, I immediately think, or I worry that they're going to be like, oh, well, this person is, has this lifelong disorder and that's going to be brutal and I don't want that in my life. It's a really vulnerable thing to trust someone with this information. and to trust that they're going to love you through it. And it's hard, but it's important. We need people in our lives, we need community, and we need to choose to trust the people that we love with this information, and we need to share with them how we're feeling. Not in a way that where we're complaining, but just in a, hey, this is a fact. We don't need to hit them over the head with information about fibromyalgia every day, you know, but it's going to come up in conversation, and I think it's important to just be honest and open. And I think it's really important to admit that we're scared. I'm not scared every second of the day, but there are times when I wake up in way more pain than I have been in a long time, and I think, is this the pain that I'm going to be in now for the rest of my life? And I get really scared. I get really scared, and I'll get scared until that pain kind of settles down again. It's scary to have a diagnosis where you don't know where you're going to end up. Sorry, I just got a little emotional there. But I think it's important to trust the people around us, trust that they love us unconditionally and that they're going to be there for us. I have 3 amazing friends that I hike with, but I'm just gonna highlight 2 of them here for a second. My best friend, she once said to me, "I love making your dreams come true." And that to me is just one of the most beautiful things someone could ever say to me. I mean, that's just extraordinary. I hike in the Canadian Rockies with her a lot, and I couldn't do half of those hikes without her. I often give us some crazy challenges, but she's right there along with me on the ride, and we go for it. And she will check in with me. She will ask me, "How's your body doing?" Not in an annoying way, but in a way that is encouraging. And when we get to the top where we're past the tree line and it's much more difficult and I have to stop because I'm in pain and I don't think that I can go any further, she'll say, "Okay, we're gonna take, 30 more steps in 10 seconds. And then I'll do that and then we'll stop again." And she stays right by my side and she helps me out. And it's amazing. And I need her. And I'm so blessed to have her in my life. And the other one, we did our first through hike together, and I was worried after that she wouldn't want to hike with me ever again, because I think she knew going in that she was going to have to pick up a lot of the slack. It was an 8-day through hike. And after day 3, when we got to camp, I would be in so much pain that I'd just have to lay down on a log and just kind of cry. Involuntary tears that just came. And just cry because at that point, I had pushed my body into so much pain, my body needed some sort of a release. And she would have to put up camp, she would put my food in the bear bin, she would get water for dinner, she took care of me. And we came off that trail, I'm getting really emotional, sorry. We came off that trail and I really thought that she would never want to do another through hike with me, but we pretty much started planning right away to do a rim to rim of the Grand Canyon. And we haven't been able to do it yet because of COVID, but she went into that hike knowing that she was going to have to pick up a lot of my slack, and she did it without complaint, and she chose to be there. And then again, I worry that I'm a burden, and I worry that maybe she probably would have had a better time without me, with someone else. But never once did she make me feel like that. That was something that I put on myself. And so I think that there has to be trust both ways. I think that we need to trust people to love us through it. And they also need to trust and respect that what we're saying to them is true and that fibromyalgia is a real thing. I've had a family member tell me that I was making up my pain just to get money out of people, and that's one of the hardest things that you can hear. So find your people, and I'm gonna have to end it there because wow, I've just gotten really emotional and I'm actually crying right now, so I'm gonna stop. But let's open up the conversation. What do you wish that people understood about fibromyalgia? And for those of you who support someone that has fibromyalgia, what do you wish you knew? Let's open this up and let's talk, okay? All right, you guys. I hope you have a great day.